Hi everyone, this is going to be the recording for assignment 3, more or less to explain assignment 3 in more detail. Just a reminder, this course is being condensed from a 15-week course. So each assignment is covering certain key outcomes. And this assignment, although it is sort of repeating what you did in assignment 2, it's going a little bit more in depth regarding the CRAP protocol, how to isolate excellent sources or credible, reliable sources for your work, but also how to synthesize an argument. All right, so we're going to talk about this right now. First, I want to go into Blackboard just to show you where you can find everything, just in case people might be having difficulties. But guides, templates, and exemplars, since we're already right here, if I open this up, all right, you will be able to find exemplar for assignment 3. And why not start from the end so you can see what it's supposed to look like? So, normally, if we had a 15-week course, this would be a full paper. But because it is a very short course, this is just focusing on the argumentative portion or the support portion. What support can you find for your point? So, here again, this is completely made up by me. I'm going to make it a little bigger so it's easier to see. It's completely made up by me. I just jumped on the topic of Kyle Rittenhouse, the acquittal, and I chose a random position, aligned, and here's what it looks like. You should have 3 in-text citations and 3 support sources. Now, when I say 3, if you have one absolutely excellent one that you can fully rely on, I would recommend you do 2. But if you only have absolutely one, then I'm going to say you might be able to use that. Just get approval from me. Email me and say, here's my one source. It covers all my bases, and here's what I'm planning to do, and I'll give you feedback on that. 2 or 3 is ideal. Okay, so try for 3, especially if you have 3 separate points. That would be ideal. But I understand time is short, and I understand the constraints that you all have on your time. So 3 is ideal again, but 1 absolutely fantastic source, or 2 pretty good ones or quite good ones, and 3 good ones definitely works. Okay, so here's what it should look like. Really, just one paragraph. If you have more to write and you feel more comfortable writing it in 3 separate paragraphs, a paragraph per point, that's fine, or 2 separate paragraphs. You can pass it by me in the meantime. There's time because it's not due until the 22nd. So let's go through this. Though the acquittal, so this is just the argumentative portion. Though the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse remains highly controversial, I support it for the following reasons. Primarily, it was correct under the law, despite our opinions of the current gun laws in the U.S. In text citation. Kyle Rittenhouse did use proper protocol before firing by trying to escape and warn his assailants that he would defend himself, and gave them a chance to desist as per proper legal protocol in self-defense, as the state he was charged in, Wisconsin, is not a stand your ground state. What that means in plain English is he was required to run. He was required to run away. He was he was not allowed to stand his ground and then just shoot just because someone was approaching him. You do need to try to evade um, getting harmed in any way you can in Wisconsin before you decide to fire. So it's not a stand your ground state. You're not allowed to just stand in place and shoot just because you said, don't come near me. It's not one of those states. And he did, in fact, fulfill that according to law. And there's a citation there for an article that proves that. It's hypocritical to blame a person for making the wrong choice, going out armed into essentially a riot, but maintain the individuals who are also armed and who chose to continue to cause violence and aggressively pursue him were not assailants. So this would be an in-text citation, probably from video. Actually, I found some video evidence where you see that he is running. He's trying to get away, And the three people he shot are still in pursuit of him and are not desisting. And one of them, at least, was definitely armed with a pistol with a Glock. So I didn't go into too much detail here because I want to keep it brief. You can expand in a little more detail if you like. It doesn't have to be long at all. 300, this was very short, but 350 to maximum 750 words. And 750 is huge. But if you feel like explaining more, you have cause to explain more, if you have need to explain more, that's giving you the room to do it, but absolutely unnecessary. And then finally, there's in conclusion. So, despite what we may feel about gun violence, gun laws in general, and our opinions of what Kyle Rittenhouse was doing out with a rifle in a violent protest as a 17-year-old boy on that fateful night, according to the present laws, I support the acquittal and know he will continue to be vilified and punished in the court of public opinion. So this is, when I say my opinion, I am not someone who in the position of authority when teaching will actually admit what my actual opinions are, because that might sway you, and I'm not allowed to grade according to what my opinion is on anything. My opinion absolutely doesn't matter. What matters is your ability to support an argument, and it could be something that, even upsets me, but that makes no difference whatsoever at all. So why bother to share my views? I don't think that's professional, and I'm not doing that. So here again, don't take anything that I've written as an exemplar as necessarily my view one way or another or in any way. So I just want to make sure that you're clear on that, for professionalism's sake. References, you would list your three references here immediately under your work with the title references as it is above. So that's basically what you're handing in. Just assignment 3. You don't obviously write exemplar. Yours is the real deal. Topic, let me know what your topic is. Let me know what your position is. Argue your point, providing support, provide a conclusion or not. You don't have to provide a conclusion in this case, but if you'd like to, it would make sense to, so you can go ahead and do that. And references. Okay, so that's what your assignment is going to look like. So let's go into where the assignment is, where you would hand it in. Okay, be very, very careful that you're handing in the right assignment under the right place. So this one here, I believe I did not create it properly as an assignment, but it will be here. So I will have to redo that one. I'll have to edit it because it's not going to function as these do, right? Go in here. For you, it's going to look a little different, but at any rate, it's here. So you would click on it here and you would hand it in here. So this is basically your folder where you hand things in. Assignments and instructions with due dates, okay? And actually, just to make it perfectly clear, I'm going to write so you can see how this works in real time. Hand in here, okay? So this is where you hand in your work. Anything under this folder is where you're going to be handing in your work. All right, and we're going to go now to week 2 reading materials. So you'll do a little bit of reading this week. There'll be a little bit more I'm going to add, very little more. The last thing we're going to do is something called logical fallacies. Some of you may or may not heard of them. And I'm not going to go into it now. I don't want to confuse you, but we're going to talk a little bit about what rhetoric and logical fallacies are. So I've included this link, which is basically the crap protocol. Again, here they add purpose and objectivity. So they've made crapo. Not a big difference. It's the same thing, just a little bit different way of expressing it. But this is an excellent resource from the University of Arizona on choosing the best sources in evidence, selecting an appropriate source. So scholarly, peer-reviewed, hierarchy of sources, the Crapo test, selecting strong and relevant evidence. It's all here. It's excellent. It's absolutely a great one and done resource, right? How to evaluate statistics, how to evaluate expert opinion, how to evaluate research studies, historical evidence, and anecdotal evidence. So it's all here, questions to ask. So if you read through this and you have any questions, my reading it to you, I don't think is going to help your studies. So once you read through it, if you have any questions about any of this, please contact me via email. I'm also going to make myself obviously available if you need one-on-one Zoom. So if you're having real difficulty and you just need someone to sit down with you as much as we can remotely and go over your work, look at it with you there and, talk about it, I'm absolutely happy to do that too. Okay, so this has a lot of great resources in general, but here is an excellent one. So, how to choose scholarly, peer-reviewed, and other credible sources. So, if we go here, it gives you an actual chart for how to choose them, how to identify them, where to find them. It gives you more information about them, which is excellent. And here's how you can integrate research into your paper, how to tell if you have not added your own academic voice. Okay, so you need to add your own academic voice. So that's outlined here. So I want to hear your voice here. I want to hear what your opinion is, but you need to support it with the sources that you're choosing. So you're going to begin with a topic sentence that indicates the main point of the paragraph, right? What is this paragraph about? So if you're going to write one paragraph with 3 sources in this case and make it short and sweet, in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, what I wrote is it could simply just be, I agree with Kyle, the sentencing, or the acquittal rather. I agree with the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse from a legal perspective. Okay? That's the claim. This due to it being in accordance with the law. That's the claim. And that's what we're going to prove or discuss, right? Support your topic sentence by adding relevant evidence. This is what you're going to find. What research has been done? What have the experts in the field stated? What statistics are available? That's where your source comes in. And explain and elaborate by adding your own analysis, conclusions, or ideas. So here you could do that all in one conclusion because we're trying to make it short and sweet. Okay? You could add a sentence within your paragraph indicating the source for this information is important, significant, meaningful, and relevant because in a court of law, there was only one way to fairly rule in the Kyle Rittenhouse's case, but in maybe the court of public opinion, much more discussion could be had about whether or not the laws of Wisconsin or other laws should be changed. But as far as was the law followed in the acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse, according to the sources I found and provided, yes, it was. There might be other sources that could argue that, but according to the ones that I found, and they are scholarly and they are dependable, all things being equal, I did make it up, but that all things being equal, that is the case in this case. So what I'm arguing is that the information is important and relevant because we basically shouldn't be wasting our time, according to what I'm trying to argue, fighting over whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent or guilty. We need to look at, if we're upset by that verdict, we need to be looking at the laws because due process was followed, the law was followed, and he himself did everything necessary according to the law in order to be acquitted of the actions that he took that night. So we need to basically, my conclusion is we need to move the argument elsewhere about deconstructing the law. And there is also a court of public opinion in which it's uncertain whether he was actually acquitted. All right. So here's an example. Now, This is for one point and one source, and in a longer paper you would do all this writing 3 times, right? So in this case you can condense it all. If you have any questions, again, I'm happy to look over your work. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I'm happy to be around to assist you in that. Okay, so you have more videos here and tutorials. Over quoting, I'm going to say avoid quoting entirely, paraphrase only at this point in time, because we're not examining quoting at this point in time because it's a condensed course. Okay, quoting is just a formatting thing where if you want to insert a quote, you have to put it in quotes and you have to cite. But I'm going to say avoid it. If you absolutely must do it, then go ahead and do it, and you can look up how to quote, or I can assist you with that. If you need assistance, you can let me know. Okay, so let's go back here for that source. Okay, and here the Crapo test is outlined again. If you need assistance with that, hierarchy of sources, most credible, right, down to least credible. So you can review this. Now, peer-reviewed and scholarly are going to be your most credible, but they're not always available for everything, okay? Other credible sources are listed here, and just other. These are potentially untrustworthy and unreliable. So you want to watch out for those. So let's take a look at one of the topics quickly I'd like to go to. Let's say BLM, right? BLM, how to do a search. There are many different ways you can do a search, but you can do a search this way: BLM scholarly articles. Now you're going to get a variety of scholarly articles here, okay, on BLM in general. But that might be too general. So if your knee-jerk reaction is BLM was a scam, let's say, and you want to look up if there's any credible or valuable source information that would support that, you could type in BLM was a scam. Scholarly articles. And see what you can find, right? Now, this is an org site. It's difficult to find an edu site. Here's the edu site. Let's see. University site. So you could go through this and read through it and see if there's anything there to support your position. Right? Now, if that's not available, but you still feel like you can find some support, you can look other places. Essence.com. So you'd want to know, I believe that Essence.com is a magazine, if I remember correctly, particularly focused on the Black population, right? So that might be, depending on where the information comes from. And let's go scroll to the bottom. We're going to scroll quickly and see if there are any references here. And there aren't any, which is usually an issue. Okay, this is a magazine, so I'm not sure if we want to go here, right? What is this? Fraud lawsuit. There's a lawsuit now. Let's see, it was dismissed. So potentially that's something that could be used. So you can go and narrow down. There's jns.org. Okay, org. What is org and what is JNS? So we could take a look here. Jewish News Syndicate. All right, is that going to be any more reliable? Maybe it's biased from a different perspective. So it can get really tricky. But we want to look and see who. So this is an author, right? Here's an author that's being highlighted. And her name is Heather McDonald. Top story. She's written a book. The book is called When Race Trumps Merit, How the Pursuit of Equity Sacrifices Excellence, Destroys Beauty, and Threatens Lives. Obviously, we don't have the time to read a book here, but we can look and see if there's anything we can find here. MacDonald explained that guilt over America's racist past has caused people to lose sight of the fact that Rachel President, so we could see as banished from the public square. We can see her perspective here, whether we agree with it or not. Let's see if there's anything that she says that can support that. So we can take a look at this and see if there's anything, and if we don't like this source, or we don't feel like it's adequate, doesn't pass the CRAP protocol, then we wouldn't use it, right? So there are lots of sources available, and it's going to take you the most time to pick a source. So pick 3 sources. My suggestion here is to pick, so as you're picking your potential topics, maybe pick 2 or 3, right? So let's say defund the police, and then look at how much resource information there is and make sure that you can find enough to support, right? National Institutes of Health, that might be a good one. It's a government site. Yale News, Yale Education. So when you type in scholarly articles, it really does assist you in finding the types of sources that should assist you for your work, and that should qualify as passing the CRAP protocol, or CRAPO in this case as well. All right, so if that makes any sense. But again, if you're running into any trouble, please, please, please rely on these resources, but also please let me know. I will assist you all the way through, I promise. All right, so this is your how to choose appropriate source material for academic work. All right, so we've looked at that. We've looked at the exemplar, and we've looked at where to hand it in. Those are the 3 places we needed to look. So I'm going to look at the assignment actually, so you see what it looks like. So again, it's due September 22nd, which is technically the last day of this module. We may be able to get a little more time. So I actually did discuss this with your program coordinator. He was available on Sunday. I wrote to him. I wasn't expecting him to hear back from him until Monday, but I did hear back from him. And we're to avoid that because you have other modules obviously coming up right on the back of this one. And the more extensions you have, obviously, the more one module is going to bleed into the time for the other, and the more behind you're going to get, okay? With that said, I have a full week, so until September 29th, to hand in your grades to you. They will be uploaded at the end of semester as usual in my Humber for where you officially see your grades for this condensed course, but I may let you obviously know the grades way ahead of time. So I'm happy to give an extension until, let's say, the 25th, if it's absolutely necessary, but everything else is due. If it wasn't due on the 13th, it's due on the 22nd. Okay, so that's a week later, and try your best to get it handed in by that time. If you're unable to, we can extend to the 25th. If you need more time than the 25th, then it's probably going to need to be supported by some kind of a letter or some kind of documentation that indicates illness or an accommodation or something like that. So with that said, if you have any accommodations, please send them in, make sure that I know, make sure that you make me aware, and I'm happy to support. Okay. So the value of this module is 30%. So because it's short, so it's of this particular module. So of this course, it's 30% of your RIT 100 portion. So what I would like you to know is that rewrites and revisions are always possible if you are getting a failing grade. So if you are getting a failing grade and you need one more revision to basically keep your nose above that water, that failing grade, let me know, and we're going to work on that, okay? And we'll find a way to work that in. So the word count here is 350 to 700 words. So it's giving you a fair amount of room. And you can make it short and sweet, or you can make it longer. It's really up to you. The reason I do that is some people have more difficulty being brief, and other people have more difficulty being a little longer. And you can both briefly and in an expanded format convey your points and write very successfully. So I don't want you to be too constrained. If you're a person who can keep things very accurate, short, and sweet, and you're happy to do that, fine. If you find you're a little bit more of a quote unquote explainer, then that's fine as well. Okay. If again, any questions, just let me know. Instructions here are choose a topic from the ones listed below or your own topic. If you choose your own topic, you must write an email to me to get it approved, and so I'm aware of it before you begin your work. Okay, so we can do a quick search of sources for your topic to make sure that there's adequate material. Okay. These have all been chosen due to the plethora of sources available on them, as well as their relevance to your program. However, you do not need to choose one of these if you're more interested in or know more about something else you would rather write about, okay? So you don't have to worry about that. Defunding the police, obviously, we discussed that. Police wellness checks. Police response to domestic violence. There's several scholarly articles are available, like what transpires in these responses. Legalization of marijuana and other drugs, COVID-19 vaccination mandates. So these are just general topics. You can pick any fine or smaller point. Like COVID-19 vaccination mandates should have been more strict, less strict, or shouldn't have happened at all, or caused severe social issues. Whatever, you know, whatever angle on the topic you want to take, that's fine, but it's within that topic. The trucker protests of 2022 against vaccine mandates, okay. BLM, scammer, genuine charity, at Kyle Rittenhouse, gun laws in Canada, the US, all right. These are just general topics that you'll find an adequate amount of scholarly articles on, and that are relevant, that are social issues that we're currently grappling with, still discussing, still very much in the media, that are controversial. But again, you're free to choose absolutely anything else that makes more sense to you. These, I believe, would just be quite relevant for our point in history and also for your program. Step 2. Find 3 sources that all pass the CRAP test and support your topic. You do not have to illustrate how they pass the CRAP test, okay? Don't redo that all over again. You don't have to hand that in. All you're handing in is what exactly looks like the exemplar. I just need the references. Once you cite them and provide links to them in your references, I can easily review them and I can see if they passed the CRAP protocol or not, and to what extent. Okay, so just so that you know, I'm not going to be, let's say the majority of them pass, that's great. I'm not going to punish you very much for that. So grading will be based on whether or not they pass the CRAP test, but again, more your effort in choosing, that I can see that you made an attempt to choose a good source and that you also supported your work properly, is what I'm really looking for. Okay. If you choose defunding the police, one of the sources from assignment 2 will likely assist you. Okay. So again, it may not be on the highest part of the hierarchy for the CRAP or CRAPO test. It might be on the lower rung, but it may still qualify. So it's still usable. Okay. Step 3, choose your stance on the topic. What position do you take on an aspect of the topic or the topic itself? Now, again, your stance might change as you browse. You might say, oh, wow, there are more scholarly articles on this corner of the topic that I wasn't considering before, so I might want to change it. So finally choose your stance on the topic after you've had a chance to look through the availability of sources. What position do you take on an aspect of the topic or the topic itself? For example, do you support or oppose the verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial? Why or why not? You don't have to write a lot. You only have to provide 2 to 3 well-supported reasons from the sources you have chosen that have passed the CRAP test. Once you have isolated the information in your sources, you need to support your stance. Write a very brief document that can be organized as per the below. So this is a very loose organization, but gives you an idea of the logic. I believe that legalizing marijuana was, you could say, a mistake, a positive move, has pros and cons for the following reasons. So you could be aligned, opposed, or neutral, conflicted. You may use one excellent standalone reason or 2 or 3 reasons, but they must be supported by your sources. Okay. Then, so the number of sources and reasons, again, if you want to use 3 and keep that because it's simpler to understand and follow logically, you may do that. But again, I'm keeping the door open. You might find one absolutely excellent source, and given that this is a condensed course, please run it by me. I may improve it, and you might be able to use 1 or just 2. But you should be able to easily find 3. But again, I want to give you some wiggle room here. Then list your reasons in paragraph format for each reason. Cite your sources in text as well as include 3 references below, all according to APA formatting. You don't have to, as our time is cut short, but if it naturally flows, you may absolutely write a conclusion as a separate and final paragraph. Okay, so you might want to just conclude something very briefly at the end of your paragraph, but you could write a separate conclusion. I think most of you will probably want to do that. It's a natural outcropping of the exercise. So you have an exemplar now of how to do that. So that's all there. Okay, so I hope that's all clear. I'm going to leave it there. But as always, please contact me through course messages if you have any questions whatsoever, and I'll be happy to assist or even meet with you if need be.